How do you pray? What is your go-to prayer, and what apps do you have on your phone? We're going to go through ours. We're going to talk about all those things today on Happy Hour. Welcome to Happy Hour, our podcast for young adults here at the Cathedral of the Most Sacred Heart of Jesus. I'm Rick.
And I'm Holly.
And we really are excited to talk today about what's on our phones, what are our go-to prayers, maybe even introduce you to a new app some people might not have ever heard of, and just kind of, I don't know, I think we need more helps to win nowadays. I feel like there's just so much to grab our attention out there that we need to kind of pare it down, focus, find the one or two great things, and then stick to them.
Right. I absolutely agree with that. I think going off that, I think one of the previous popes had mentioned that busyness is like America's like disease or something like that. Or like the busyness of our lives have led us to be so anxious that we're not praying enough.
Oh.
And prayer is, the food for the soul. We have to be praying. We're not going to be fed. We're not going to be spiritually like filled, adequate, for other people, for yourself. So it's completely very important to balance your life with that. And, app usage on your phone.
That's
like you
big.
were saying.
It's big. Yes. I wonder what it would be if you're not driving, if you're just listening and you were to pick up your phone and look at your screen time. What would that look like, right?
Yeah. You can set those like alarms, right?
Yes. Yes, you can.
Very good.
You can do that. And then you can get a lot of detailed information as well to shame you and make you, which I guess, we're Catholic, so we know a little bit about guilt, right?
Yes.
But it's also a really good thing. I also see it as accountability, right? And we all need accountability. But today, instead of shaming or guilt or whatever, we're actually going to try to just encourage you in the ways that have maybe worked for us, maybe some ways that haven't worked for us. Because for every one app that I use, I've probably gone through like 15 that don't work for me. Whatever that is, if it's a game, if it's some kind of business app, whatever it is, some recreational app. I usually go through a few, try to dial it in, and go from there. Are you the same way, or do you just find one, you stick with it, you're golden?
I typically have to go through a few. It reminds me, I was in an educational technology class last semester, and we did app reviews. So we went through many educational apps, from communication apps from like parent to student, or apps for like productivity, apps for educational academic purposes. Nice. And we got to go through all of them. And at the end of the semester, everyone had a project where you would focus on one app, and it was through all of the classes that they had. Oh. And you had to go to 3 of their presentations. So you get to pick which app, see how this group researched it, reviewed it, if they like it, if they disliked it. So it was actually really interesting. And I got to see a lot of apps. I got to, that was really fun.
That almost sounds like you shouldn't get credit for a course like that.
I was like, this is just helpful.
It really is. I mean, gosh, that would, I went to school in a different day and age, so we didn't have those things. But it sounds like something that I would actually want to be a part of. And those classes to me were very rare when I was in college. There were a few, but that one I would cling to, and I would wake up, I'd make sure I go to every class. That sounds like one of those kind of classes. So that's
very
awesome.
Informative. Yes.
Wow.
But with those apps, it's very, for me, long story short, very much trial and error kind of thing with that.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely am the same way. Trial and error. But that's how we can weed out what's good and what's bad too. And I feel like that's probably a lot of life as well. And that's okay. So today we're going to look through, first, before we get to apps on our phones though, let's talk a little bit about there's definitely times in our lives where we have better prayer life, and there's times in our lives where we suffer a bit more in our prayer life. There are times we feel closer to the Lord. Sometimes we feel farther away, even if we're praying more. So understanding all of that, it's kind of setting the scene here. If you had, say, over the course of your life, of your prayer life, a typical day, not what we hope it would look like, but maybe an honest assessment. If we averaged out our time in our prayer life of our regular day, what would that look like for us? So as you think about your prayer life, what does that look like from the beginning of the day to the end of the day, and what in between?
So realistically, for me, I've been doing a little plug for Father Mike Schmidt's Catechism in a Year.
Let's go.
It keeps me very accountable with my prayer life, and it's something I want to learn like every day. I want to learn more about the truths about our faith, how it connects with Scripture, how it connects with church history. Like I'm very much captivated by that, and it keeps me very accountable in my prayer life. So I've started that this year. Highly recommend jumping in the bandwagon on that one. So that's definitely one area that definitely helps me. I think realistically, for me as a college student, it kind of varies. We have adoration on campus on Thursdays, so we're filming on a Thursday, so I'll be there. But sometimes your class overlaps that and you can't go. It's not realistic. So it's, it's a little difficult sometimes, because some days it feels like there are more opportunities for like me to pray or like sit in silence. And then some days are like super busy.
Right.
And I'm just like not paying attention. So it's very important to, I think, starting at the beginning of the day. I've been trying to wake up earlier, do that. It's been much better because my mindset's better. Yeah. That's where my first focus is, God. So that's definitely helped. But at the end of the day, maybe I could improve a little bit more and with reflection and prayer before bed, because I'm starting now. I'm like, okay, I'm going to shift the beginning. Then I kind of forget about the end. So realistically, that's kind of how it's looking like for me right now.
Yeah, no, that's good. I would say definitely for me, the beginning of my day, right when I wake up, I think I'm more focused on getting going.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Me too.
Right. And I know the phrase, the first thing that should hit the floor are your knees. I get that. I understand that, and that's wonderful. That's typically not what happens for me. Just honest assessment. I'll get up. I wake up at 4:30 now.
Ugh,
Is that too early?
Goodness. Well, what time do you get to bed? How do you sleep?
Depends on an average night. I'll probably get to bed right around 11.
Okay.
So that's more than enough. 5.5 hours for me is more than enough.
That's impressive. Sleep. I would be like, I need 7 to 8.
and that's true. That the older you get, the less sleep you actually need. It's weird. Get and need. I guess they walk hand in hand. So I wake up now at 4:30, and I got to get going first before. Like my mind gets going right away, and it's usually on a billion different things. So I kind of go downstairs, make my coffee. Sorry, my Nespresso.
Oh, right. We have to say that.
Let's be specific about that. And I'll sit at the coffee table, or sit at the kitchen table, the dining room table. My goodness, I don't even know what tables there are. And I'll either listen to the Catechism in a Year. I try not to, though, on a weekday. On a Saturday, Sunday, yes, that's what I go to. That's 100%. But on a weekday, I don't, because I have a long car ride in, and I've got 3 of my kids ride with me. And so they get to experience the Catechism in a Year as well with me.
Oh, that's nice.
So it's, I'm a firm believer that when you hear things, you never unhear them. They're always there in some way, shape, or form. So that's really important to remember too. But if I'm not doing the Catechism in a Year, I'll talk to God a bit. I'll try to listen a little bit. Might read my scriptures, might do some of my readings for my class. This semester I've got like ecclesiology, so there's a lot of reading.
That's awesome. It kind of incorporates for you like a little bit of that. It's like built in.
Exactly. 100%. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And that's okay. I try to take advantage of that. I think that's good. Then I'll do my exercises. If I get to spend some time in prayer there, that's wonderful. On the car ride in, I get to pray with my kids and myself. It's beautiful because they get to pray as well. Like they get to vocalize, and we follow their lead. And then throughout the day, speckled here and there, I try to make some time just to listen to the Lord and talk to the Lord, be specific, not just like, oh, while I'm walking over here. No, it's more like sit down, give them a couple minutes of your time. We send texts to our friends. We see how they're doing. How you doing? So I feel like we can do that with the Lord. And then usually I have an event. I usually have programming at night. So there's incorporated prayer there as well. And then at night we pray as a family. So that's beautiful too. So I definitely try to bookend my days with prayer, and throughout the day I speculate. Having said that, that doesn't always mean that I feel close to the Lord. It doesn't always mean that I am cognizant of what I'm praying or anything. So I need little things to help me along the way, because I can get stuck in a rut, right? Like,
Absolutely.
Here's my routine. Now I'm stuck in it. And if I do that, I tend to not focus too much on the words. And I'll give you a really good example. If we're at Mass, right? Sometimes we have beautiful prayers at Mass. If we really paid attention to what we were saying, oh my goodness, it would change our world if we paid attention to it all the time. But there are times where I'll catch myself in the middle of a prayer. I'll have already started. It's almost like sometimes when you drive and you're going like you have a different destination than maybe your normal. And about halfway through, you realize, oh my gosh, I'm going to work, or I'm going home.
You're on autopilot, like you keep going. And
Exactly. And it can be that way with our prayer life too. I feel like you wake, like in the middle of the prayer, you kind of wake up. You're like, oh, wait a minute. I've already said half the prayer. I'm not even paying attention to what I'm saying. And you get called back into that.
I've even had that happen with the Catechism in a Year, because I'm listening to it in the car, and you're kind of like already focusing on driving sometimes. So then I'm just like, focus. And then I kind of tune out, and I have to go. I love that little 15-second back arrow. I have to go 3 times back to the 45 seconds back to actually, like, wait a second, I actually was not listening at all. And I have to go back, listen to it again, because I catch myself a lot too with that. Just like, okay, let's do the checkbox. Let's do this for today. But it's really important to actually absorb it. So it's very important to sit down with it sometimes. I'm
very grateful for that rewind. One thing I typically do on my podcasts is listen to it at double speed or at like 1.5. Oh, and if I have lectures for class, hopefully, Professor Haas, if you're listening, just know that I put you at 1.5 speed, but I do it to everybody. So, but on this, like on the Catechism and the Bible in a Year, I just keep it at regular speed. Okay. So you do a variation or a difference with the speed level. And so how does that help you slow down with some things? Definitely. Okay. I'm more intentional about not just trying to get through it. Okay. Whereas sometimes, like with class and everything, you're just trying, there's so much, you just got to get through it. Sure. But like this, I really want to focus and soak it in. Almost like making tea, let that tea soak for a little bit. Don't try to rush it. Otherwise it doesn't taste as good, right? It doesn't soak in as much. To that end, I believe we should talk about maybe the one thing that we probably spend the majority of our day on, which is our phones. Just being honest with if we looked at our screen time, it would be clear. We spend more time on our phones than we do sleeping. That's really sad. Yeah. I mean, think about that for a second. I think I got a notification yesterday or this morning. Uh-oh. I'm tired. It's like, which day did it come? It was like I had spent like 2 hours and 50 minutes or something the previous day on my phone. I was just like, that's terrifying. And I wonder if I think it's scheduling that I usually do, but then my second one would be usually social media or something like that. Did you say only 2 hours and like it was under 3 hours? It was under 3 hours. That's lower than the average. Is it? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I try not to have any games on my phone. A good call. So it kind of helps with the just not being. Yeah. Sometimes I uninstall Instagram too because I'm like, I just need to get it away. and again, we're not trying to shame anybody. It's like, oh my gosh, I spent 10 hours on my phone on average per day. We understand too that they're tools of business. They are scheduling for me because I'm a type 1 diabetic. That's where my sugar level is. Like that's what I have to open up and look at to check it frequently throughout the day. So we completely understand. But what I think we want to do is help people to be even more intentional about when they are on their phones. Okay. Because there are tools. We have tools literally at our fingertips that can help us with our prayer life and being more focused and intentional in our relationship with the Lord. And that's what we want to focus in on today. So for all of you that are actually watching this podcast, you're going to get to see, my phone. I'm holding it up right now so everybody can see that I have an entire folder called Catholic. I like that. I can. Isn't that funny? You can see. Yeah, this is a big phone, so you can probably see it all. I see nine apps. Yes. Catholic. And Catholic not that all 9 are. You also see his really cool phone. That's true. Let me just give you the full experience if you're watching here. So there we'll turn it on, and then if we open it up, then it does all that, right? My goodness. Yeah. So that's great. So I have this whole folder called Catholic. that I go to. I have lots of folders on my phone, but this one's called Catholic, and you're going to notice a few apps on there. So I'm going to try to hold it steady so you can see which ones I have. Again, there are 2 of them that are not specifically Catholic, and you probably will never go to, and that's okay. No worries. But I do want to point out a couple of mine. You probably have some on yours as well. We might overlap.
Sure. And
I think I want to introduce people to, there could be a couple of apps on here that people have not even heard of before.
Oh, okay.
So let me dive in with the few that I use the most of. Okay. So I have this one called ImissalAngel.
ImissalAngel.
Yeah.
For like mass?
Yeah, so it's the mass readings. Mm-hmm. If I open it up, it's pretty simple. It opens up to a calendar, which is great, and you just select which day you want to go to. So if I want this Sunday and I click this little button here, you're going to see that it's going to ask if I want to just go through the readings, if I want the readings, the full version with notes, if I want a concise version or whatever. Typically, I just open up the readings because I don't need to know all the mass parts. I'm pretty familiar with the mass parts by now, but I do want to know the readings. So if I'm at mass and I don't have what are they called? The
missals or
or the missal or the handouts, the worship aids.
Worship aids, yes. The
pamphlets. The pamphlets, I like that too.
I say pamphlets.
Yes, no, I like pamphlets. If we don't have that, I've got the readings right here. I can follow along. Pretty easy.
That's very beneficial.
Pretty simple, and
I
that's all.
always get scared though, like when I'm on my phone in mass, I'm like, they think I'm like a young person on my phone. I'm like, I swear, I'm just reading. Yeah, that's the only downside. But you know what?
You got to push through it.
They can't judge.
No. We used to have these stickers that we'd put on the back of our phones that would say, oh my goodness, what was the phrase? It was something like, I'm praying, not...
do not disturb.
Yeah, I forget what it says now, but it let people know that if you're looking at me, looking at my phone, just look at my sticker. Because it says I'm actually doing good things on it. Again, these are tools for... These can be used as tools of good use, so we want to make sure we're doing that. So do you have, before I get into a couple more of my apps, you open up your phone, what's your go-to app that you use for prayer, for Catholic life, anything like that?
Honestly, the Bible app. I mean, it's kind of standard. I also pull up the USCCB one. I mean, that's more, there's a website and stuff.
Sure.
But that's probably my most frequently used Catholic app.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Website, I guess.
And of course, you do podcasts as well. So Catholic podcasts.
Catholic podcast, like, obviously Spotify for listening.
Yes.
Or any other platform. So I also have those. And then I go into those apps sometimes to find more resources, more Catholic podcasts. Like you said, there's a lot of them out there. So I actually go into Spotify a lot and then like look at what there is to offer in that kind of category.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Of course, what would be like your top couple podcasts that you listen to?
Couple podcasts. I love Jason Everett.
Nice.
He's amazing. I like anything of his. Sarah Swafford. Let's see. Obviously, Father Mike. Ascension. Kind of like the standard.
Yeah.
What most people, I guess, listen to.
Obviously, Happy Hour.
And Happy Hour.
Of course, obviously.
Yes.
So podcasts, that you can use whatever app you are familiar with, comfortable with to find good Catholic podcasts. And I would highly recommend that. You listed some really great ones, some ones that I listen to as well. Let's go through maybe a couple more apps. I'll end it with maybe the new app that people aren't familiar with. One that is very useful is Formed.
Formed. I've never heard of that before.
Okay. So Formed is an app that's going to have a ton of Catholic content on it. And what I mean by that is Bible studies, audiobooks, Catholic movies.
There's a Catholic and money. I can see that when you held it up.
Yes. Yep. Catholics and money. So these are some of the ones that are trending. Catholic commentary on The Chosen, a video series, right? There are video series that can help you personally. There are movies on the saints or videos on the saints if you want to get to know them better. There is the liturgical calendar, which they'll read with you and comment on. There's stuff, very specific things. You can go through the sacraments. There's a whole series on the sacraments if you want. If maybe you have children, young children, you want to teach them, or you want to prepare yourself for the future or now. Again, audio content. There's lots of podcasts. There's so much stuff on here. Bible studies.
It's a library, really.
It really is. There's so much discernment stuff for parishes. I could scroll for days. There's comics. There's literally comic books.
Catholic comics.
Comics. It's a whole Spanish section, right?
Lovely.
There's so much on there, you'll never get through it all. Great thing about that is an app that costs, but it's not an app that costs you as a listener.
Oh,
because we, as the Cathedral Parish, actually offer it to all of our parishioners for free.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'll have to be joining that today.
Yeah. So what we'll end up doing, what I'll do in the notes of this podcast is I'll send some links and share how you can get all of this stuff. But I'm telling you, the Formed is so good. If you were always wanting to start maybe a Bible study with your friends, but you don't know what to do, here we go. Perfect. All the content you need, discussion questions to go along with it. Exactly. It's 100% there for you. And you'd never even heard of that one before, did you?
I had not heard of that one before. That's new to me, but I will definitely be joining that because that kind of sounds great. I also wonder, because you said movies, right?
Yes.
I wonder if it's going to have the Padre Pio movie.
It's got it.
It already has it? Okay, perfect, because I wanted to see that.
Yep. In fact, it's got a lot of the Saints movies, the Mother Teresa ones, good. I mean, it really is. Claire of St. Fran, I mean, it's all the big Catholic.
Right.
Yeah.
Because some of those are very hard to access on general, platforms.
Correct.
So I was wondering, I was like, okay, but they have the Saints, so that's very good. So for all those listening, that's what they have.
Yes.
So very cool.
And they have things for like marriage. So if you're newlyweds or thinking about getting married or have been married for a while, there's stuff to enhance. It's really a very useful, fruitful app that you can go to. And it's on Roku TV as well. So you just slide that on there. Pretty easy. You'll have access to all of that as a listener of the show.
That's awesome.
Isn't that great?
Yeah,
I think that's pretty cool.
Tell your friends.
Yes, tell your friends. I would be remiss if I didn't point out the Angel Studios app.
Okay.
This is where you can watch The Chosen.
Nice.
Right. If you haven't seen The Chosen, I'm a huge fan. I didn't think I was going to be. I was so sick and tired of poor Christian production.
Okay.
So when it first came out, everybody's like, you got to watch The Chosen. I'm like, I really don't have to. Nor do I want to. But watching it and experiencing it it's very difficult for me now on Sunday when I hear the gospel readings to not picture that Jesus.
So is that what kind of plays? It's kind of like when you read a book, you have the whole play, right, kind of in your head.
Yes.
And how you imagine it. Is it kind of like that, but like transferred when you're actually reading the gospel?
Yeah.
Like, how does it work for you? Okay.
I would say for me, it's almost like, let me give a real world example. Okay. I watched the Harry Potter movies before I read the book.
Okay.
There was no way for me to visualize Harry or any of the characters outside of what I had seen.
Okay.
Right?
Sure.
So now that I've seen The Chosen and connect so well. Now, having said that, I've watched a lot of things on Jesus. A lot of different people have played it. Even, Jim Caviezel in the Parish. This is different. This has now overtaken all of that.
Wow. That's
and in
impressive.
a very good way. I've never connected more with Christ through media than I have in The Chosen.
That's a very profound statement.
It's pretty big.
That's pretty big.
Yeah.
And this is kind of crazy because I was a skeptic as well. I still haven't watched it completely. So I will be getting the Angel Studio app.
Oh, yes.
Because I was a little bit skeptical about it because, the Passion is like the ultimate,
Of course.
I was like, I don't think anything's going to compare, so why would I watch it? So I was more of the skeptic in that. Usually I'm more of an optimist, but I was like, I don't know. So maybe I'll get the app.
Yeah. It's I highly recommend it. If you're a skeptic like we are,
yes,
I would download it. I would watch, give it 3 episodes. If you are, after the 3rd episode, say, not my cup of tea, God bless you, move on. But if by the end of 3 you see something that you want to journey with, and I think you will, it's pretty incredible. So I highly recommend that. All right. There's also this great app called Laudate. Again, if you're watching us, you're able to see all these apps that I'm holding up. Laudate is a trove of information. It is just a wealth of knowledge of all things Catholic. It is absolutely free. Angel Studios is free as well, by the way. iMissal, the first one I spoke about, does cost. It's a one-time fee, I think. It's not a subscription-based. But on this, you have everything from your daily readings to you can listen to a bunch of different rosary and chaplets, some live broadcasts of the rosary worldwide.
That's pretty cool. So you're praying in that community, in that church as a whole.
Yeah, exactly. I could probably... I apologize if you're going to be, you might still be able to listen to this, but if I were to click on, say, the live broadcasts of the Holy Rosary online, it just takes you to a whole slew of them. I could listen, you can actually schedule it so that you can be informed. It'll pop up on your calendar, go right in your calendar, and you can pray at your leisure. Okay. And there's so much. It's Latin, there's English, there's all kinds. Again, there's the confession app that'll help you tick off things on your checklist.
Oh, there's a checklist.
Yes.
Oh, that's actually very
which is
helpful.
really good. Stations of the Cross, all the prayers you could ever ask for. EWTN is actually on here, so you can watch EWTN right on this, right through this app. You've got the New American Bible Revised Edition. It's a lot of things.
That's awesome.
It's a lot of things. And my go-to on this particular app, I hit the daily readings, but it's the saint of the day. So it gives you kind of the main saint, but it'll also tell you a lot about saints that are not well known, and it'll tell you about their lives, which is some of them pretty incredible. I mean, cool. Stories I have never heard of. And I'll just kind of scroll so you can see, but look at all the saints that you get every single day, because people only think they know that there's maybe just one saint of the day. No.
There's multiple saints each day.
Each day. Look at that.
One that everyone
That's right. But look how many I've scrolled through already, and I'm going faster now so we can get to, there's probably 50 saints of today.
Oh my goodness.
Some are not well known and small profiles on them. But so that app is called Laudate. You can actually watch the Holy Mass live. Again, that encompasses basically everything.
Everything Catholic you could think of.
all the things Catholic. So I've got one last app that I want to cover because we're running out of time. So I apologize. And I know I'm talking a lot. I apologize, Holly.
No, I'm actually very intrigued because I have not seen many of these apps before.
Yes.
And hey, we don't have to now. I and all the listeners don't have to reinvent the wheel on how to, do that trial error process of trying to find apps that work for you.
Absolutely. We'll do one final app. One that you probably haven't even heard of.
Is this the new one?
It's the new one.
Ooh, okay.
This one's called the Amen app. Amen. So if you need to see the icon, I'm holding it close. Oops. There we go.
It's like a dark blue.
Yep. Dark blue app.
Amen in white.
And if I hit that, you're going to see that it's from the Augustine Institute. Okay, which are the same people that put on the Formed app.
Okay, so same.
But this is going to be much different. Probably a lot of people are familiar with the Hallow app, which is a very Catholic app. Subscription-based, though, it does cost. The Amen app does not cost. Okay, so what do you see when you first... You know what, Holly? Right here, right now, I'm going to have you download the app.
Let's do it.
Okay, so you're just going to go into your app store, which you have an Android...
We both actually have. Yes.
So it's the Google Play Store.
Right.
Right. If you are one of the other kind of users, I believe it's called the App Store.
Here we go.
But in the Play Store, just look for the Amen app, and it is by Augustine Institute. Perfect. And right when you open it up, there's something beautiful about it. I don't know. It's going to give you some scenery, and some things are going to strike you immediately. The first thing, of course, you got daily prayers that just kind of pops up. But right above that, it tells you, what do you want content on? Do you need courage right now? Click on the courage button.
I like that.
Are you suffering from anxiety? Click on the anxiety button.
So you have like a little thing for each. I just downloaded it. It just came up. The first thing that it popped up with was a notification that says, do you want to subscribe to a Divine Mercy notification every day at 3? And I said, yes. I'm like, that's fantastic. So that's the first thing I saw. Hopefully everyone else sees that.
Yes, you will.
And then it says, what brings you to Amen?
Mm-hmm.
It says, ponder God's word, sleep better, interesting, reduce anxiety, encounter Christ, grow through prayer, or Bible in a year. And so you can click one of those, it seems like. I'm going to do Encounter Christ.
Nice.
Get started. And it looks like you put it in your email address.
Correct.
Pretty
so that
easy.
it can notify you.
Here we go. It is loading. And then you put your name.
All easy steps.
Pretty easy. Let's see. And then it says meditate every day. So you can do push notifications and choose that if you would like. And then I'm saying yes, because that would be pretty helpful for me to remind
I do.
Yes.
Yeah, I have the notification.
And mine looks very similar to Rick. So it does have like a little scenery, like right
It's beautiful.
here.
It's beautiful.
Hopefully you can see it on the camera if you're watching. And then it does have all of the little content words. So like healing, mercy, spiritual growth, comfort. So it's whatever you're looking for, it seems like in the moment. So, and then there's, wow. So I'm scrolling through, there's a journal that I can see. There's a sleep. That kind of reminds me of the Hollow app of what I've heard.
Yes.
I haven't subscribed to it.
Yes. So the sleep one too, very interesting. You get to choose the length. I think as short as 15 minutes, if I remember right.
Okay.
All the way to 90 minutes. So you can already hear. All I did was open up the sleep app.
And that was very relaxing.
And now I'm ready to go.
I'm like,
but it's wonderful. It's beautifully done. And you just tell it how long you want to, count down till you sleep. And it's really well done. It tells you a story. It's like a bedtime story.
But that is
yeah.
That's so sweet.
For me, it was a little weird at first because it's like
sitting there.
Get comfortable. Pull up the covers. I don't need you to walk me through that. Okay, I just want some sleep. But for some people, I'm sure it's wonderful.
Yes.
But there's also just so much content on here. And scroll to the bottom of your front page. What's on the very bottom? Not the menu on the bottom, but do you see the last slot? What does it say in white? That big white box.
It says journal.
Journal,
which I really think is really cool.
Yes.
So you can journal. It's like a electronic journal instead of actually writing it out. Because I take so many notes.
Yeah.
That would be so helpful.
Yes. And when you do one of these things, it gives you the option to actually write that journal at the end if you would like it, and then it'll save it and you can look over it. It's got a digital journal. You can see on the very bottom, there's the menu of today. There's the menu of sleep. There's the topics.
I see topics.
Yep.
That's
which are great.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many.
There's music, novenas,
Lectio
prayers.
Divina,
Yeah.
meditations, evening psalms. So if you want to get more into a routine of like praying at night, this will help you as well. There's just a lot of things on here. And it's absolutely free. And we'll link it in the description. Listen, we don't get anything if you click on our link, so we don't care if you actually use our links or you just search it right now on your phone. Totally fine. We just want to help you win, so we're going to put those links in the description. That's a lot. I feel like I could have done 3 or 4 podcasts on apps.
Just app reviews. Maybe we can continually do that. That would be a really fun thing.
Yeah, like everyone's
app review.
Yeah. Maybe
quarterly. We'll do an app review.
Or maybe we'll spotlight an app each time.
I like that.
I kind of like that too.
Survey some people, see what they like.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I like that. Good idea. All right, we have definitely run out of time. So hopefully this has been helpful to you. Again, if it is, and you know somebody that could use that same help, share this, like, subscribe, all the things that help our channel to grow. We appreciate you. And we really hope that this brings you closer in your relationship with the Lord and, of course, his church. Thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to seeing you next time on Happy Hour.